So just in case nobody told you, lack of clarity can steal contentment very, very easily. Lack of clarity can rob you of contentment. It's crazy how I've seen just over the past few months or so, how lack of clarity, not being extremely clear on what your goal is, not being extremely clear on what your values are concerning certain things, can really steal your contentment. It can put a cloud over your joy, and even though your light may be shining, things can just feel a little bit more heavy. And so on today, I want to dig into this a little bit on the Larger Than Logical podcast. I hope that this encourages you and gives you just a little bit more energy in your day-to-day walking in your fight to walk with Christ, right? And then also allow him to work through you. But let's make this a little bit more plain. So one thing that I've noticed is that me, right, being an individual who I just pride myself on authenticity so much, not from the cliche standpoint where I feel as though everybody has to know everything that I think, like, and feel, but within inside my own body, I can feel 100% when I'm bending into shapes that I was not meant to take form of, right? I can feel it in my body when I'm being invited into conversations and into ideas that are not for me. I can feel it when I'm being pressed on by an environment to show up in a certain space, and I have no bone in my body that wishes to show up in that space in that way. This could be in the context of friend relationships. This could be in the context of work relationships in the corporate space. This can be in the context of church and your fellowship, right? Sometimes we get put in these positions where there's an expectation put on us, and sometimes we even just put an expectation on ourselves to walk into a space and show up a certain way. And it's heavy, my dude. Like, it's not something light that just comes in one ear, goes out the other in terms of thoughts, right? It's something that can be like a 20,000 pound vest, a weight vest just sitting on your back. And so I want to bring light to the fact that when we find ourselves in these situations, we have to remind ourselves 100% that it is a choice. It is a 100% choice the way that we show up in these spaces. It is 100% a choice what we decide to submit ourselves to and to not submit ourselves to. And the biggest takeaway that I'm full well being able to acknowledge is that when we walk into a space and begin to try to fit the mold of what is expected, we are now trying to give license to others to expect us to be somebody other than who we are and what we are. And that is so damaging to the soul. Look, man, when we go into these spaces and we begin to try to talk a different way, when we go into these spaces and we begin to try to accept things that we don't accept, when we walk into these spaces and we begin to attempt to say things and do things to make other people feel comfortable and gain favor, not even necessarily in the sense of we're trying to manipulate, or necessarily in the sense where we're trying to puff people up, but in a sense where we're trying not to rock the boat. What we're doing is giving others the license, the latitude, and the longitude to begin to expect us to show up in these spaces as somebody who is not ourselves. We're beginning to set precedents. We're beginning to set a standard of what I guess would be considered the normal version of us. And the thing about it is, when individuals begin to hold you accountable for the person that you made them think you were, or for believing things that you don't really believe, you can't be mad. I'm not saying stay in it. I'm saying if you've been called out, I'm calling you out. But the thing about it is, you can't do all of this work to build a persona and then expect it all to just go away when you're not trying to play anymore. And for this reason, I would like to warn anybody, if you're going to show up in a space, my guy, if you're going to show up in a room, if you're going to show up and be somebody, it is always better to show up in a space as yourself and take whatever comes with it, rather than show up in the space as somebody who you are not and then try to take what comes along with that. If somebody is going to hate you, let them hate you for who you actually are, not for who they think you are. okay? Or who they perceive you to be. See, the thing about it is, because whether you go into a space with Christ or you go into a space being whatever you're trying to make people think you are, there's going to be hardships that come along with that. And so think about it like this. You walk into a space and you're attempting to fake the funk. You're attempting to be passive. You're attempting to bite your tongue. You're attempting to be so digestible. Not that we shouldn't try to, of course, be peacemakers, right? Not that we shouldn't attempt to agree in terms of keeping peace. But at the same time, it's a difference between that and neglecting who you are, your character. It's a difference between putting a dampening on your light just to make people feel comfortable, right? And so the thing about it is, when you go into these spaces, right, and you allow yourself to begin to shift and mold just for the sake of not rocking the boat, right, and bad things start coming along, that people still talk about you, people still treat you funny, people still disrespect you, people still just act in rude ways and do things that shouldn't be done. Now you have two weights, because number one, you have the weight of the negative outcomes that are coming your way, but number two, you also have the weight of continuing to try to be somebody who you are not. You also have the weight of attempting or trying to keep the facade up of who you are, painting the picture of who you are. And these are things that you do not have to deal with unless you make yourself deal with them. Now, I will say this, and I want to make this plain too, because a lot of times when this happens, we're not going into spaces and saying, hey, I want to make people think that I'm somebody that I'm not. A lot of times when we find ourselves in these types of positions, it's a paradigm where we're really just trying to put our best foot forward, but not realizing sometimes that us attempting to put our best foot forward is us attempting to put forward a version of ourselves that's just not us. So case in point, I hear all the time when it comes to like phone conversations, and I've just stopped doing it. People try to code switch. So we get on the phone, and rather than answering the phone, hey, this is Avery, how you doing today? How can I help you out? We get on that phone and, hey, this is Avery, how may I assist you today, bruh? You don't talk like that, bruh. That's not how you connect. Why not answer the phone like yourself? You walk up into the corporate space and everybody's in the office, and rather than walking into the space in the office, hey, what's good, y'all? How y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? Da-da-da-da-da. Yo, my weekend was cool. How about y'all? Da-da-da-da-da. We get in there. Oh, it was awesome, and we had a ball, and da-da-da. Bro, you do not talk like that, bro. You do not do these things, bruh. And yes, it might make other people feel uncomfortable to have to acknowledge that you come from a culture, that you have a background, or that you're just built differently than they are in certain ways. But the thing about it is, it's 100% better to let other people be uncomfortable and deal with themselves than making yourself responsible for their backlash and the weight of trying to fit into something that you're not. I want to give this to you because so many of us, we shrink ourselves to try to make ourselves digestible. And I'm not talking about when it comes to like sin and wild stuff, bro. If you are an alcoholic, you should not be prideful about being an alcoholic. If you are addicted to sex and porn and lust and all that type of stuff, you should not be prideful about that. If you are dealing with same-sex attraction, you should not be prideful and trying to pull everybody like to get you to support you and all these different types of things. If you are aggressive and angry and always fighting, you should not be trying to get people to support you for being the one who want to throw hands with everybody. That's not what I'm saying at all. Those aren't what I would even characterize as somebody being themselves. Your sin is not who you were ever intended to be. What I am saying is that we all come from a culture. What I am saying is that we do all have a unique background that made us who we are. There's certain TV shows that I like that may be different than what you like. Be honest, I don't really watch TV like that. I'm a YouTube guy. You know what I'm saying? But once again, that's something that's unique. I don't really watch sports like that. A lot of y'all might watch sports, but that's something that makes us unique. I don't have to always go into these spaces and pretend like I know all the stats, because I don't. You know what I'm saying? I love music, bro. I love Spanish, bro. I love different things, right? I love the Lord first and foremost, and I bring that with me everywhere I go. And that's different than other people. And there may be some things about you that are also different between you and other people. But what I need you to understand is that it's okay to be different, and that it is okay to have your interests, and it is okay to have your values, okay? Especially when those values were put into you by the Son of God, the Holy Spirit dwelling in you, has taught you some things. It has changed your perspective on some things. And so what I want you to understand today, if nothing else, is that you have a responsibility, whether you believe it or not, to be yourself. You have a responsibility, whether you believe it or not, to walk in who you truly are. Not walking in your sin boldly, not that, but in the person that life experience has shaped you to be. The things that you enjoy, the way that you speak, the way that you love and show compassion, and the way that you support, the way that you work, the way that you move. These are all things that are a part of you, and trying to fake like they aren't, just for the sake of appeasing somebody else, trying to act like you do not like things that you do like, trying to act like you do not just have certain preferences, just act like you're the most easygoing person in the world. Like, you don't have to fake the funk. And it's also, honestly, it's a lot more genuine to make your preferences known, but then also be willing to put those aside for somebody else's. I'm not gonna lie, when we show up in these spaces and we act like we just the coolest people in the world type stuff, we have no issue, But not only is it like everybody sees through that mess, but you really make yourself look like the bid too. And not that looking like the bid is a bad thing at all times. Sometimes when we're being literally just who God created us to be, we can look like we soft, we can look like we just letting things happen, but that's not the case. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you're faking like you're somebody that you're not, acting like you're this saint, this peaceful person, even though it's not even bad to have a preference, right? And just letting people walk all over you and just to look a certain way, bro. It's not. That's not what it's supposed to be. That's not what it's supposed to be. Now, I always like to give on the contrary one more time. I'm not telling you to walk in sin. I'm not telling you to be an aggressive person. I'm not telling you to bully people. I'm telling you just to show up in a space as yourself. Not to mention, a lot of us, we neglect ourselves and really showing up in a space, or even showing our true selves to ourselves, to the point where when it comes to God and it comes time for God to actually work inside of us, a lot of times we don't even know what to submit to him because we've spent the whole time trying to be somebody that we not. You're a very, very greedy and self-centered person, but because you always put on a face and you've even fooled yourself to begin to believe the face that you put up, when it comes time to submit to God, when it comes time to give something to God to help you work on, when it comes time to give something to God so he can start to pull the strings, you don't even know what you're supposed to give God because you don't even know who you are. You're steady trying to run and steady trying to put band-aids on things and hoping nobody else finds out that you're not perfect, when we all already know that none of us are perfect. But that's neither here nor there. Well, actually, it's here and there because it's on brand with today's episode. But that's my ploy to you today. And send this to your dad, send this to your brother, send this to your uncle, send this to your cousin. Let another man of God know it's okay to be yourself, man. And it is encouraged to be yourself. It is encouraged to walk in who you truly are and who you were created to be. It's okay to have preferences. It's okay to like yourself. It's okay to enjoy things, especially when those are the things that God has put inside of you. We're not picking sin up and elevating sin, but what we are doing is walking in who we are and letting God create us to be better versions of who we are and who we were created to be. But I'm not holding y'all today long. I just wanted to give you some encouragement and some love. Hey, look, keep your head up, stay strong. The world might try to beat you down, but he already overcame it. Come on, you know what time it is. My name is Avery Taylor. You are tuned into the Larger Than Logic podcast, and I'm so glad you've allowed me to be a part of your journey.